My girlfriend admitted she cheated. I needed a real man, she said arrogantly. My friends took her side. I never thought I'd be sharing this story, but sometimes life blindsides you in ways you never see coming. For 2 years, I thought I had something real with Jessica. 2 years of building what I believed was a future together, only to discover I was just a placeholder until something better came along. Looking back, the warning signs were there from the beginning. I just chose to ignore them, thinking love meant accepting someone's flaws. Rookie mistake. When we first met at my friend Tyler's barbecue, Jessica was this vibrant, ambitious woman who seemed to light up every room. She was struggling financially after finishing her degree, working an entry-level marketing job that barely covered her student loans. I admired her drive, the way she talked about her career goals with such passion. 6 months into our relationship, she lost that job during company downsizing. I didn't hesitate to help. I covered her portion of dates, lent her money for bills, even helped her network with contacts for my company. When she landed a position at a prestigious firm 3 months later, I was genuinely proud of her. But something shifted after that. The thank yous became fewer. Instead, comments about how I needed to step up my game or show more ambition became more frequent. Nothing I did seemed good enough anymore. If I suggested a quiet weekend in, I was boring. If I wanted to save money for our future, I was cheap. When I talked about my promotion at work, she somehow made it sound insignificant compared to her achievements. "That's nice, babe," she'd say with that condescending smile. "But when are you going to really challenge yourself? You could be doing so much more if you weren't so comfortable." Still, I made excuses for her. She was just pushing me to be my best self, right? That's what partners do. So I kept supporting her dreams, celebrating her wins, being there through her bad days. Meanwhile, the jabs at my character continued. "Sometimes I wish you'd just take control," she'd say. "Be more of a real man, you know? Like my boss Richard. He walks into a room, and everyone just knows he's in charge." Richard. I should have paid more attention when that name started appearing in every other sentence. About 3 months ago, things got weird. Jessica started working late almost every night. Her phone became this sacred object she'd never leave unattended. She changed her password. Started dressing differently, more expensive clothes, new perfume. When I'd pick her up from work happy hours, she'd smell like cologne that wasn't mine. But the strangest thing was how our friends started acting around me. Awkward silences when I walked up. Pitying looks. Tyler, my best friend since college, couldn't even look me in the eye. One night, I came home early from a business trip to surprise her. She wasn't there. Called her phone, straight to voicemail. At midnight she stumbled in, clearly tipsy, claiming she'd been working late then had one quick drink with colleagues. I wanted to believe her. The next morning, while she was in the shower, her phone buzzed with a message from Richard Work that previewed, "Last night was amazing. Can't wait to." I didn't read the rest. I didn't need to. Still, like an idiot, I didn't confront her immediately. I needed to be sure to have an actual conversation. So I suggested meeting for drinks that Friday with our friend group, Tyler and his girlfriend Emma, Jessica's friend Mia, and her husband, plus a few others. Jessica seemed oddly enthusiastic about the idea. That night at the bar is now permanently seared into my memory. We were all seated at this large corner booth. Jessica arrived last, looking stunning and radiant in a way that made my heart sink. I knew that look. It wasn't for me. We ordered drinks, made small talk. Then Jessica clinked her glass loudly. "I have something I need to say," she announced, her eyes not quite meeting mine. The table went quiet. Too quiet. Like everyone but me knew what was coming. "Mike," she said my name like it was some kind of punchline, "this isn't working anymore. I've met someone else." The silence that followed felt endless. My friends stared at their drinks. No one looked surprised. "How long?" I managed to ask. She actually smiled then, not embarrassed, not guilty, but almost proud. 2 months. It's Richard, my boss. And honestly, it's incredible. He's incredible. She took a sip of her cocktail, confidence radiating from her. I needed a real man, Mike. Someone with actual ambition. Not someone who's content just existing. I looked around the table, waiting for someone, anyone, to say something. To express shock. To defend me. Tyler examined his beer like it contained the secrets of the universe. Emma bit her lip and looked away. Mia actually nodded slightly in agreement with Jessica. "You all knew?" I asked quietly. "Look, man," Tyler finally spoke, not quite meeting my eyes. Jessica wasn't happy. We could all see it. You're a great guy, but maybe not the right fit for someone like her. Richard can give her the lifestyle she deserves. Emma chimed in. Their connection is really special, Mike. If you could see them together, you'd understand. In that moment, I realized I'd lost more than just my girlfriend. These people, these so-called friends, had watched me get played for a fool and said nothing. Worse, they were now actively taking her side, validating her betrayal like it was some kind of aspirational romance story. I felt this strange calm wash over me, the kind of clarity that only comes when you suddenly see everything exactly as it is. I stood up slowly, reached for my wallet, and placed enough cash to cover my drinks on the table. Looking directly at Jessica, I said, "Thank you." Her smug expression faltered slightly. For what? For clearing the way for a woman who'll see me as a complete person, not just a checklist of superficial qualities. And thank you all, I glanced around the table, for showing me exactly who my real friends aren't. I walked out without looking back. The cool night air hit my face as I left the bar, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could actually breathe. That night, I went home, packed a bag with essentials, and checked into a hotel. I turned off my phone and just sat in the silence, processing everything. No tears came, just this profound sense that I'd been freed from something toxic that had been slowly suffocating me. The next morning, I turned my phone back on. 37 missed calls, 23 text messages. Most from numbers I recognized, some I didn't. I ignored them all and spent the day finding a short-term rental apartment. By evening, I'd arranged to have my essential belongings moved while Jessica was at work the following day. 3 days of blessed silence followed as I settled into my new place and blocked Jessica and all our mutual friends on every platform. Then came an unexpected message from Corey, a peripheral friend who had been at the bar but hadn't said much during Jessica's announcement. "You should know something," his message read. "Richard is married. His wife found out about Jessica yesterday. Apparently, this isn't his first office fling. He told Jessica it was over and that he's working things out with his wife. She's been calling everyone crying." I didn't respond. An hour later, another message from Corey. "Also, man, I knew about them for a couple weeks. Should have told you. That's on me. I'm sorry." Over the next few days, the floodgates opened. Messages from everyone who had sat at that table, suddenly claiming they never really approved of Jessica's behavior. Tyler sent a rambling voice message about how he was just trying to keep the peace and didn't want to get involved in relationship drama. Emma wrote a paragraph about how relationships are complicated and she didn't feel it was her place. Jessica's messages were the worst, alternating between blaming me for driving her to cheat, "If you had just been more exciting, more ambitious," blaming Richard for misleading her, he told me his marriage was basically over, and begging for another chance. "I made a terrible mistake. You're the only one who ever really cared about me." I responded to none of them. Instead, I focused on rebuilding. I threw myself into work, joined a climbing gym, reconnected with friends I'd lost touch with during my relationship with Jessica. 2 weeks after the bar incident, I was offered a position at our company's Seattle office, a significant promotion that would require relocating. I accepted immediately. The move was exactly what I needed. New city, new apartment, new social circle. I found myself smiling more, sleeping better. 6 months passed in what felt like a blink. Then yesterday, an email arrived from Jessica. Unlike her previous desperate messages, this one was different. More reflective. She wrote about therapy, about recognizing her pattern of using people, about her regrets. The final paragraph read, "I don't expect your forgiveness, Mike. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that losing you, losing what we could have had if I hadn't been so selfish, will always be my greatest regret. You were the real thing, and I was too blind to see it." I read it twice, then closed my laptop without replying. Some bridges, once burned, should stay ash. Tonight, I'm meeting Elise for dinner. We met at a community volunteer event last month, and there's something refreshing about how she engages with the world, genuinely curious, attentive, kind without agenda. When she talks about her passions, she doesn't need to diminish others to elevate herself. As I get ready for our date, I catch myself smiling at my reflection in the mirror. The guy looking back at me isn't perfect by any means, but he knows his worth now. Not measured by someone else's yardstick, but by his own integrity, kindness, and quiet strength. Sometimes losing everything is the only way to discover what you actually need. Jessica, and that night at the bar, they didn't break me. They freed me to become the person I was always meant to be, someone who knows that being a real man has nothing to do with dominance or status, and everything to do with how you treat others and yourself. I check my watch, grab my keys, and head out the door. The past is behind me now. And for the first time in a long time, I'm genuinely excited about what's ahead. Update 1, the aftermath. It's been 2 weeks since I posted my story, and I didn't expect the overwhelming response. Thank you all for the supportive comments and messages. A lot has happened since then, and I think it's time for an update. First, about that date with Elise, we've been seeing each other regularly since, taking things slow. She's different from anyone I've dated before, thoughtful, secure in herself, and refreshingly direct. When I finally told her about Jessica, she just squeezed my hand and said her loss is definitely my gain. No drama, no games, just genuine connection. But of course, life is never that simple, is it? 3 days after my last post, I was grocery shopping when I literally bumped carts with Mia, Jessica's friend, who had nodded along during that humiliating bar scene. Her face went white when she recognized me. She started fumbling with apologies right there in the produce section, saying she'd been trying to reach me. Save it, I told her, about to walk away when she grabbed my arm. You need to know what's happening, she insisted. Jessica's telling everyone you were emotionally abusive, that you controlled her finances and isolated her from friends. She's painting herself as this brave survivor who finally escaped. My blood ran cold. What? Mia looked genuinely troubled. It started after Richard dumped her. At first, we all just thought she was processing her pain, rewriting history to cope. But it's gotten worse. She's posting these tearful videos online about surviving toxic relationships without naming you directly, but everyone knows who she's talking about. Tyler and Emma are backing her story. I just stood there, surrounded by apples and oranges, trying to process how I'd gone from betrayed boyfriend to alleged abuser in the span of 2 weeks. Mia handed me her phone, open to Jessica's Instagram profile. The most recent post showed Jessica looking solemn but determined, with a long caption about finally breaking free and reclaiming her power. The comments section was filled with supportive messages, including several from our former friends. Why are you telling me this? I asked Mia, handing back her phone. She hesitated, because I was there the whole time. I saw how you treated her, with nothing but respect and support. I saw how she manipulated situations, how she'd say one thing to you and another to us. I went along with it because... She looked down, because it was easier than standing up to her, and I'm ashamed of that. As surreal as the conversation was, I appreciated her honesty. Didn't change much, but at least it was something. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to engage, defend, or explain. The people who truly knew me wouldn't believe her lies, and the ones who did, they weren't worth my energy. But the universe had other plans. The next morning, my phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. Hello, Michael. We haven't met, but I believe we have someone in common. This is Linda Matthews, Richard's wife. I'd like to speak with you if possible. I stared at the message for a full 5 minutes before responding with my coffee shop of choice and a time for the following day. Whatever she wanted to say, I figured I should at least hear her out. When I arrived at the cafe, I spotted her immediately, elegant mid-40s, with the kind of confidence that comes from weathering storms and coming out stronger. She didn't waste time with pleasantries after introductions. Richard has had affairs before, she said calmly, stirring her tea. Usually with ambitious young women at the office who see him as a stepping stone. Your Jessica was just the latest. I winced at the your Jessica part. She's not mine anymore. Linda smiled, but there was no warmth in it. No, she's not anyone's now. Richard ended at the moment I confronted him. He always does. But this time, I'm not just looking the other way. She reached into her designer bag and pulled out a folder, sliding it across the table to me. What's this? I asked, not opening it. Evidence. Texts between Richard and Jessica planning how to manipulate you. Messages where they mock you, where she shares private details about your relationship. There's also documentation of company funds they misused for their rendezvous dinners, hotel rooms, a weekend trip to Napa charged to the corporate account. I felt sick. How did you get all this? Linda's expression was steel. I've been married to Richard for 20 years. I know his patterns, his passwords, his weaknesses. I've been gathering evidence for months, not just about Jessica, but about 3 other affairs in the past 2 years. Why show me this? I asked, still not touching the folder. Because Jessica is painting herself as a victim on social media, both of you and now of Richard. She's telling people he manipulated her, that she didn't know he was married. That's a lie. She knew from day one. She's been to our house, seen photos of me and our children. I finally opened the folder. The first page was a screenshot of texts between Richard and Jessica, dated just 2 weeks into their affair. Richard, my wife's charity gala is this weekend. Need to make an appearance. Jessica, ugh, the boring wife again. Can't you skip it? Richard, not if I want to keep peace at home. Besides, her family's connections are important for the firm. Jessica, fine. I'll keep whiny Michael distracted. He's taking me to dinner at that new Italian place. At least I'll get a free meal out of him while you're playing dutiful husband. I closed the folder, unable to read more. Thank you for showing me this. But why does it matter to you what she says about me? Linda looked me straight in the eyes. Because I'm filing for divorce, and I'm also filing a workplace harassment suit against Richard and the company for fostering this environment. Jessica's little victim narrative complicates things. I need the truth to come out. I nodded slowly, understanding now. What do you need from me? Your permission to include these texts in my legal filings. They show the nature of their relationship and directly contradict the story she's telling. And she paused, if you'd be willing to provide a statement about your relationship with Jessica and what happened that night at the bar. I took a deep breath. The last thing I wanted was to be dragged back into Jessica's drama. I'd been doing so well moving forward. But the evidence in that folder wasn't just about me. It showed a pattern of behavior that had hurt multiple people. I'll need to think about it, I finally said. Linda nodded respectfully. Of course. Take some time. But not too long. My lawyers are filing next week. We exchanged contact information. And as she stood to leave, she added something that stuck with me. Michael, there's a difference between walking away from toxic people and allowing toxic narratives to go unchallenged. Sometimes silence protects the wrong person. That night, I told Elise everything. About Jessica's social media campaign, about Linda, and her folder of evidence, about my reluctance to get involved. I expected her to advise caution. After all, we were still in the early stages of whatever this was between us. Instead, she surprised me. You're not responsible for Jessica's lies, she said, but you are responsible for your own truth. If staying silent means letting her rewrite history and potentially hurt others, is that really the choice that aligns with who you are? She was right. I'd spent my relationship with Jessica swallowing my truth to keep the peace. I wasn't going to make that mistake again. The next day, I called Linda and agreed to provide a statement. Then I did something I hadn't planned. I unblocked my former friends on social media, not to reconnect, but to see exactly what narrative was being spread. It was worse than I'd imagined. Jessica had posted a 15-minute video titled Moving On from Abuse, where she carefully constructed an alternate reality of our relationship. In her version, I was controlling, undermined her career, isolated her from friends, and guilted her about money, all while presenting a nice guy facade to the world. The comments section was filled with support, including one from Tyler. We all saw the signs but didn't know how to help. So glad you're free now. Something in me snapped. Not in an angry way, but in a moment of perfect clarity. I opened my laptop and began writing. Not a rant, not a defense, but simple chronology of facts. Dates, events, bank transfers when I'd helped Jessica financially, screenshots of loving texts she'd sent me just weeks before cheating. I didn't vilify her. I simply stated the truth. Jessica and I had a relationship that ended when she chose to have an affair with her married boss and announced it publicly to humiliate me. These are the facts. I wish her healing and peace, but I will not allow my character to be defamed to serve someone else's narrative. I attached proof of everything. The money I'd lent her, the networking connections I'd shared, the supportive messages I'd sent during her job interviews. Lastly, I included a screenshot of Richard's wife's business card with a statement. If anyone wants the full truth about the affair, including Jessica's knowledge of Richard's marriage, his wife has all the evidence and is willing to share it. I posted it on my rarely used Facebook account, tagged everyone involved, then closed my laptop and went for a long run. By the time I returned, my phone was blowing up. Tyler was first. Dude, we need to talk. This isn't cool. Then Emma, there are two sides to every story. You're just hurt and lashing out. And finally, Jessica, how dare you? Take this down immediately, or I'll consult a lawyer for defamation. I responded to none of them. Instead, I took a shower, went to dinner with Elise, and enjoyed a peaceful evening away from the drama. The next morning, things took an unexpected turn. Linda called to tell me Jessica had reached out to her directly, offering to tell the full truth, in exchange for being left out of the legal proceedings. Apparently, my post had hit a nerve. "I'm meeting with her this afternoon," Linda said. "Would you like to join us?" Part of me wanted nothing more than to say no, to continue my clean break. But another part knew this might be the only chance for real closure. "What time?" I asked. The meeting was set for 3 p.m. at Linda's lawyer's office, neutral ground with professional witnesses present. When I arrived, Jessica was already there, looking nothing like the confident woman from the bar or the tearful victim from her videos. She looked small. She wouldn't meet my eyes as Linda's lawyer explained the purpose of the meeting: to establish the facts of Jessica and Richard's relationship to support Linda's case, and to address Jessica's conflicting public statements about both relationships. "I'm going to ask you some direct questions," the lawyer told Jessica. "I recommend complete honesty, as we have substantial evidence that will contradict any false statements." What followed was 2 hours of Jessica slowly dismantling her own lies. Yes, she had known Richard was married from the beginning. Yes, she had pursued him, not the other way around. Yes, she had used company resources inappropriately. And yes, she had fabricated or grossly exaggerated claims about me being abusive. Why? I finally asked when the lawyer had finished. "Why paint me as the villain after what you did?" Jessica looked up, tears streaming down her face, real ones this time, not the performance tears from her videos. "Because it was easier than admitting I threw away something good for something that wasn't real," she whispered. "Because people were judging me for cheating, and I couldn't handle it. Because Richard discarded me like I was nothing, and I needed someone to blame." She looked so broken that for a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "I'll remove the videos," she said quietly. "I'll post a public apology. I'll tell everyone the truth." Linda's lawyer nodded, making notes. "That would be advisable. Mrs. Matthews is prepared to exclude you from certain aspects of the legal proceedings if you cooperate fully and correct the public record." As the meeting concluded, Jessica asked if she could speak with me alone for a moment. Against my better judgment, I agreed, though we remained in the conference room with the door open. "I really am sorry," she said once the others had stepped out. "Not just for the affair or the lies after, but for how I treated you during our relationship. You were a good boyfriend, Mike. A good man. I was just too caught up in what I thought. I wanted to see what I had." I nodded, not out of forgiveness, but acknowledgement. "I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for, Jessica." "I really do." As I turned to leave, she called after me, "Are you happy? With the new girl?" I paused at the door. "Her name is Elise. And yes, I'm getting there." The weeks that followed were surprisingly quiet. True to her word, Jessica removed her videos and posted a brief but clear statement admitting she had fabricated claims about abuse and apologizing for her behavior. She didn't go into details about Richard, likely part of her agreement with Linda, but she did clearly state that she had been the one to betray our relationship, not the other way around. Tyler reached out multiple times trying to explain away his behavior, but I had no interest in rebuilding that bridge. Some betrayals cut too deep. Linda kept me updated on her legal proceedings. Richard was placed on administrative leave pending an investigation, and several other women from the company came forward with similar experiences once the dam broke. As for me, life moved forward in the best possible way. Elise and I continued dating, growing closer with each passing week. My new position at work challenged me in ways Jessica always claimed I avoided. I made new friends, genuine ones who valued honesty and loyalty. 6 months to the day after that fateful night at the bar, I received a final email from Jessica. It was short: "I'm moving to Chicago next week. Fresh start. I've been in therapy and am working on myself. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted you to know that meeting you and losing you taught me the hardest lesson of my life. I hope Elise knows how lucky she is. Goodbye, Mike." I showed the email to Elise as we sat on my couch that evening. After reading it, she looked up at me with those clear, honest eyes I'd come to adore. "She's right about one thing," Elise said, leaning her head against my shoulder. "I am lucky." I kissed the top of her head, feeling a sense of peace that once seemed impossible. We both are. Sometimes the most painful betrayals lead us exactly where we need to be. Jessica didn't break me that night at the bar. She accidentally set me free.